Welcome to My Sorare Journey, where over the past 3 years I've been sharing all of my insights on what I believe is the best way to play Sorare fantasy football. This upcoming season we have a huge $15 million prize pool, but there's so much more than that to analyse, so let's get into it. So let's speedrun this huge update from Sorare for the 24-25 season. Starting off, we have the $15 million prize pool. Now I actually think that's a reduction on what was paid out last year in cash, but last year was because of the cap 240 mode and it was a little bit unsustainable, so I think a slight cut doesn't actually matter, especially when you bring in some of the other factors which we'll see later. Competition structure, we knew about that in April or March time. Moving on, you can see special weeklies. Now, one of the key parts here is that special weeklies get 10% of that 15 million. So 1.5 million allocated to it is reasonably sized, you know. But at the same time, not really something you can prepare for. The whole point of special weeklies, you know, you're supposed to be surprised by them, supposed to be a bit of fun. So not really too much you can dig into. This is absolutely huge. The prize pools for in-season cards, it's going to determine so much of, you know, the opening values of cards and where they might close at the end of the season. But we're going to drill into that later in the video because it will bore the hell out of most of you. So we'll keep it to the short, snappy stuff to start. Be ahead of the game. The cards coming out early. My last video, I discussed why that is huge for Sorare. We've seen them. They started today. We've seen some ridiculous prices on them. And that's good for the economy. If that keeps going, then that means the classic cards will get a boost in price because technically their prize pool has gone up. But we're on our first day of new season cards, so it's tough to see. But I've enjoyed the rollout. Moving on to classic prize pools, obviously that's going to feed into the new season prize pools, but ultimately the classic prize pools are going to get more difficult every season as new cards get involved into them. That's a known factor, and that's why I said Sorare at the minute, the gaming element of it, it's almost like a 1 year cycle. If you buy a brand new stack for this season or a brand new team, let's say, you roll it out, that first year is really where you're going to make your sort of returns on that team. The second, third, fourth year, you're going to be playing against so many people. It's more just like completely fun, and maybe once every 2 months, 3 months, you might win a decent prize. So don't be surprised by that if that's what happens. The early access schedule, so you can see today, the 17th of July, Champion, the 31st of July, that's where I'm going to be paying attention. I don't have a laid out plan. I'm going to base it off the prices at the time. You know, I can see them going for well above my budget, so I might come in September, get a new season card, because obviously I spent a decent whack last season and I've still got, you know, huge XP on my Leipzig stack and my Brighton stack, which I will dig into in the end of the video or somewhere in the middle, who really knows. This was huge for me and I haven't seen anyone talk about it. All of La Liga 2 clubs are no longer partnered, so that's less supply. And a couple of these League 2 teams from, I assume that's from the French League. Now for me, this was one of the biggest mistakes Sorare ever made, was making all of the second division clubs licensed and just hugely hitting the market with more supply. That is a peak on one of the graphs where you could see card prices continue to dip after that moment. I said it at the time, everyone said how stupid I was and had a go at me for it, and then years down the line you see that, oh, maybe he had a point, you know, because lots of, you know, supply would be fine where the Premier League, for example, is matched with more or with equal or greater demand. But for these League 2 clubs, a lot of them, not all of them, of course, that you have some huge clubs in there like Hamburg and St. Pauli in the Bundesliga, for example. But those clubs, those other clubs, don't generate enough interest where, you know, those collectors are going to take over. So ran over, but I'm very pleased to start seeing some of the supply dropping on especially less desired cards. Now, if we lose some of the big names like the Premier League or Bundesliga, for example, we would be a bit more concerned, but the League 2 clubs, happy to see them go. Some small gameplay tweaks are coming on Friday, 16th of August, and they reaffirm that they're not making any big changes except for following the sort of transfer window in January and in the summer, which I think is huge. You know, you do need that reliability that the rules you're playing won't significantly change, where over the historic seasons, we've seen them change wherever, whenever, can have huge market effects, which people don't really like. You want to play the cards as evenly and as fair as possible, so you know a 10 is going to be a 10, a 7 is going to be a 7, and so on, so on. Moving on, you can see that these small updates were to the collection bonuses for super rares and uniques. Most of you probably will never own a unique or super rare, so you don't care. Sub-scoring, though. This is what I read, and no one spoke about it, and maybe it's an over-thought reaction on my side, but I'm like, 10 extra points for a sub. If you have a strongly decisive, you know, in terms of goals or assists player, that is a little bit, sometimes starts, sometimes benched, he becomes slightly more valuable or slightly more usable in the game, in my opinion. Someone I think fits this sort of example perfectly would be Diogo Jota from Liverpool. They've just got so much talent on the wings that you can't really tell when he's going to play. But when he does play, he puts up decent scores. So yeah, he might not be your first choice option if he's a 40% chance of playing. He's probably not going to go in your Division 1 team. But someone like that now becomes really more valuable in a lower tier team, the Division 3, Division 4. And I think, we might start seeing over time the market adjust to that, because 99% of the market go on Sorare data scores and then look at the Sorare data prices, which is obviously all historical. So I think some of these subs might start getting a boost. But be careful, I don't think, midfielders that are just box to box making tackles won't really gain many points. Someone like, say, Declan Rice, for example. Now, if he was coming off the bench for Arsenal, he wouldn't be that great of an option still, because he's not that decisive player. He's more of the more minutes he plays, the more passes he makes, the more tackles he makes, the more duels he wins, and slowly progresses up in time. Whereas a lot of these forward cards are more decisive dependent, so they stay on 35, they go to 70 if they score, they go to 60, then they'll go to 70 if they get a couple of decisives. So yeah, maybe it'll have a slight change, but again, didn't see anyone discussing that. Now I think this coming soon event is actually already released. I haven't actually read about it, I've just seen it on the banners. So effectively, these new cards have launched. What are they calling them? The new season cards, or get ahead of the game cards, I'm really not sure. But effectively, by buying one of those, you win extra stuff. Now that extra stuff is either essence, so you'll be able to craft a card over time. You can see my essence counter here. So in limited, it's 21. I could get a tier 5 card or something better. Rare, tier 4 or something better. I'm going to try and grind it up as high as possible before I finally cave. Or you can get an extra card for free. Now, like I said, I haven't read about it, so I don't know the percentages, but I've seen some people on Twitter already just getting a free card by buying one. And I think it's a great little fun element where, as soon as you finish the auction, you're hoping you get an extra card, because saw one guy get 2 of the same card, so 2 for 1 would be absolutely huge. So that's pretty much the core of the update. I think there was some new clubs added, but there are really no interesting clubs there. All very small clubs added, so nothing really to discuss there, except for the big one, the prize pool. Now, thankfully, we have Yawaza, or Peter here, who's doing all of the dirty work for us. He's extracting all of the data and giving us his trends on what he thinks important. So let's run through some of his key takeaways and see what we learn. 70% more cash, or relatively it's 20% more cash when you add the new divisions in terms of, the Bundesliga and La Liga. But that's because that is not included in the cap division. So ultimately, like I said before, I think it's a net cut in prices by about £5 million, or $5 million, sorry, he told me. Peter also noted that there was a 37% cut in winning lineups. So this seems, as far as his data is concerned, that they're trying to, Sorare as a business, are trying to push people up the leaderboard, trying to get people to spend more money on better cards. I think at the end of the day, it's probably the right decision, because towards the tail end of last season, when you're getting down to like $10 prizes, people just don't care. You would much rather push them up, so when you do have that lucky game week, you really strike it lucky and get a decent prize. You can see here, the shift in card prices. Last season, you would have won £1,100 to come in first in Limited Champion Division 1. This season, it comes first at $1,500 in Champion Limited, same place. Yeah, so an extra like $350 is really decent to get at the end of the day. You can see that super rare and uniques, I'm just going to gloss over because it's all a bit irrelevant for 99% of the users. It's for the core hardcores that already know about that stuff anyway. At the end of the day, this was the key graphic, and Yawaza, please put this in a spreadsheet for me so I can copy it out and do my own calcs. But ultimately, it looks like, you'd be surprised at the fact limited is so close to rare in terms of just the key divisions, for me at least. But the point you don't see there, and I'm sure Sorare have done so much analytics on this in the background, is how many players actually play those divisions, how competitive it is. Whereas limited, we know how competitive it is. The scores are really hard to get, so therefore putting a little prize pool there also helps on board new users. If you're getting £7,500 in Division 1 and however many winners there are, that's really going to encourage users. And you got to remember, as people funnel into the game and join the game, you're going to join at limited. Maybe after a year you move up to rare, and if you're really enjoying it, super rare, unique, if you've got that sort of money. But at the end of the day, I think it is... I'm just going to trust them on this. I can't do any other analysis. It's the same for Super Rare and Uniques. Like, I can't really comment on them because I don't play them. I know a lot of people complain about Super Rare and its price pool not being high enough. I understand why. If you're looking at this and saying, well, you know, I'd rather get more money in Rare, but lot less people play Super Rare. So it's a tough balancing act at the end of the day. The big 5 leagues take up, of course, 66 to 75%, a large majority of the prize pools. The reason for that is that Sorare in March or April, whenever it was, transitioned away from this idea that all cards are equal. Now it's very clear. The more expensive licenses like the Premier League, they want those cards to be more expensive. It's much more sustainable for the business, and yeah, I'm really a fan of it. It means I could move straight into what I enjoy watching football in terms of Champion Europe, you know, the Premier League, Bundesliga, La Liga. You know them all by now, I'm sure. And yeah, I think that's a good change. Like I mentioned, classic season cards will of course get more competitive, and that will be the continuing trend forever in time. So don't worry about that, it's a known effect. But what is really interesting was that, almost similar to what I said before, where they're pushing people up the leaderboard, they're also trying to force people up the divisions to be competitive. It's the way the game should be. You know, the better you are at Sorare, the better it is for you. Whereas there were some times last season where you'd be better off playing lower divisions, and, you know, they're always trying to correct that. Hopefully they've got it as efficient as possible now, because I want to be, you know, upset when I get demoted and not happy that I can get an easier competition at the end of the day. So hopefully that will push also the best players up, so there's no sandbagging or anything like that. Overall, really positive. Essence, I'm not really going to dig into. He's not sure on the long-term viability of it. I've got no numbers in front of me to judge that, but I'm sure Sorare can just turn up or off, or on or off the switches on how many cards they want to reward at any time in terms of the essence, because I know they've already changed it from 40 to 50 essence required for a tier 4. So if we see it being exploited like it was over the Euros, they will jump in and assess that. So that's not core gameplay, it's just kind of supply and demand, which they control completely anyway. So yeah. My overall view is that it's really positive update for Sorare. You know, everything they seem to be doing at the minute just seems to be what I consider the right decision. We'll see if it's the true right decision in time. But you can see I'm starting to get that hype back for the game I love, where there's more videos, I want to do more about it. And I've been making some moves in the market. A little bit weird, so let me know if you agree or not. First up, I instantly liquidated or sold to Baselbot my Cody Gakpo. Now, you might be wondering, did he get injured? Did he get a move to Saudi? No, I just wanted cash immediately, and he was happy to go. So I got 148. I think it was a bit higher on the day, and at the time, and still now, he's selling for about 165, maybe in the old season, call it 155. And I was like, for the sake of £10, and I bought this guy, if I can see it on the graph here, 130. So effectively, made £15 profit over 2 months, whatever it is. I won a couple of rewards with him. I won, was it £561 of value, or 134, let's call it, if you put on per player. So I've made £150 profit on that card. And I thought, I've got plenty of depth up front. I need some liquid cash for next season. And did I hold that liquid cash for next season? Of course not. Because I got this surprising offer come through my door where I had Kobel and Blazwich for sale. Kobel just doesn't really fit my strategy. Great goalkeeper. Blazwich has moved away from Champion Europe, so I no longer require him. Bart Verbruggen, on the other hand, I needed a nailed under 23 goalkeeper. I have a full Brighton stack almost. So I was like, this is the perfect deal.
Are you sure about that?
I'm also getting a little bit of a boost. I think at the time I was getting maybe like 20 or 30 pounds and an exact player I wanted. It's so rare that these trade deals actually come up. But when it finally came up, we accepted the offer, we agreed terms, and that meant I needed to go spend some more money. Starting off with a pretty lowball offer for Evan Ferguson. So his last sale was £75, and I thought, in terms of next season, I'm not certain on him, but he's got a new chance to revitalise himself, a brand new manager. Speaking to some Brighton fans, they're not sure, but they think, you know, it could be really good for him. We know he's got talent, he's only 19. So I thought, I'll put a lowball offer and see what happens. 63, what is it, like £12 off? It was accepted overnight, so I was buzzing with that. But ultimately, it's weird because you'd never sell a Gakpo, you know, nailed, great player, great scorer, for a in and out bench player. But I just felt Evan Ferguson's price for a 19-year-old that could be starting in the Premier League or have international utility, it just seemed like the right thing to do. Keeping in mind, I also went out and did some potentially stupid things. You can let me know in the comments what you think. But I just went and bought some more Brighton cards that I was missing. So Igor for £10 fine. I think I got him on an auction, so I get those 30. Purvis Estupinian for 25 quid. I mean, he's injured. He's going to miss the start of the season probably. Not sure if he's nailed. I kind of regret that. These are all instant buys, these two. And Baliba. And I'm just looking at him and I'm thinking, 19, Brighton, they're incredible at scouting. Panic buy, I get 30 collection points. I was just like, I really want to boost up my Verbruggen to like max XP as I can. So I paid a little bit more maybe than I should have for Baliba. But at the same time, he's 19. A couple of Brighton fans think he might have a breakout season. So it could be the right decision. If we go to my collection bonus now, I'm 10 points away. So from any card or waiting a couple of days, I'll pick it up anyway from getting to 4%. That's going to be huge. I get that for the rest of time with these cards. So really excited for that. And it's similar to why I have an Endo card. Just looking at Endo, it's just ridiculous. Like, he was going for like £10 at the time, and I think he's going to be a starter for next season. So I just traded away like cards I will never be using in my gallery or don't care about at all really, and ended up with boosting my XP on the Liverpool collection. Now the Liverpool collection's only small, I think it's just a 2%er, but 2% across Kelleher, Robertson, Salah and Jota. Why do you say Jota? Anyway, it just seems like the right choice for £10, but it wasn't even £10. It was £10 of worthless cards in my gallery. So yeah, I really enjoy when I can do that. So ultimately, this is how we're looking for next season. So we're pretty stacked in goal with Alisson, Verbruggen, Pope, and not as stacked, but Matt Sales. Defenders could be strengthened. We do need maybe like Pedro Porro. You can see I'm looking to pick up a Valentin Barco. Why that is that I can get his new season card before the season starts, and that means I'll have those potential boosts we're talking about. But also, if a Stupinian's not playing, then he will play. It means I'll have a guaranteed star at left wing back for left wing back for Brighton. Not mad about it, but I just think probably go under the radar. And he fits with under 23s, which we'll see shortly. Midfield is pretty stacked. Rice, Kudos, Bruno Gomares. Mitoma could have a good season if he stays fit. Solly March, not sure if he's rotational. They're going to try and fit a way in for him. He's incredible. Salah looks to be staying. João Pedro, I'm expecting a big season. And Mbeumo is just too cheap to sell. Jota, like I mentioned, coming off the bench possibly. Adinga's really good in his day. We've got Julio Enciso from Brighton. We've got Evan Ferguson from Brighton. One of those two will probably be not a breakout season. They've kind of already broken out. I think they'll start to nail their position in the squad. A bit of hopium there, of course. Our RB Leipzig stack stays the same. We're not sure where Xavi's going to be. Probably not sure where Dani Olmo's going to be. Most of the other ones will stay static. Do I know who's going to be in goal between Van der Voort and Golaski? I haven't got a clue. I don't think any Leipzig fan has a clue. I know a lot of you do ask me for insights, which is nice, but I just watch the games. I don't read up on all the news in off-season, unfortunately. Still got some of the old boys throughout the club. I took a £20 punt on free agent Varane. Looks like he's going to Lake Como, so I get some utility. Pascal Gross is almost certainly going. Not almost certain. He's probably going to go. I heard Dortmund. I would enjoy that a lot. Dybala, my main man. A lot of love for him. Samuel Lino, I just think he's great. Pellegrini, Mancini. You've probably all seen them before. And this is where it gets a bit interesting now. Now you're starting to see the picture unravel where we've got Bart Verbruggen, Van der Voort, Mark Gay, Colwell Lukiba, and I wasn't buying under 23s to play under 23s. I just get that extra utility because the players I wanted, like Van der Voort, like Verbruggen, they are under 23. I'd expect all three of these to be nailed every single week pretty much. Same for all of these midfielders. And then we've got attackers. Now, the only problem is they're all from the same club. So if they play Man City, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I need to buy another one. It's annoying how much. Actually, Adingra could be on loan somewhere. I've heard that thrown around. Surely someone from Brighton goes. But ultimately, really, really pleased with how that's looking for next season. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you're enjoying seeing more Sorare content. Maybe I'll push a bit more out. But at the end of the day, thank you so much for watching. All the best to you. Cheers.